Hey everyone, welcome to today's professional briefing on the May 18th, 2026 Prescott market data. If you're a realtor looking for an absolute edge right now, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're tearing down the numbers to give you the ultimate split market playbook. We've got some incredibly compelling data to go through, stuff that will literally reshape how you advise your buyers and sellers this week. Let's just dive right in.
Right out of the gate, we've got to acknowledge the reality on the ground. I mean, look at this quote from Prescott's title guide, Kevin Endres. He hits the nail on the head, saying, "Current active inventory in Prescott, Arizona is very low. Keep this in mind when looking at this report." I know this is the exact challenge you all are facing every single day. You're out there fighting tooth and nail in a historically low inventory environment. This whole explainer is designed to help you navigate precisely that struggle.
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll do a quick Prescott market overview. Then, we'll look at the single-family seller's advantage, followed by the condo buyer's shift. After that, we're navigating the split market, and finally, we'll give you actual action plans for your clients.
All right, starting with Section 1, Prescott Market Overview. This really is a tale of two markets.
Okay, if you take literally nothing else away from today's briefing, please remember this. Right now, Prescott is essentially split into two totally diverging asset classes. We just can't paint the market with a broad brush anymore. What is happening over in the single-family home sector is fundamentally different from what's going down with condos and townhomes. They are running on totally different tracks.
To actually understand the split, we need to look at our core metric, the Market Action Index, or MAI. You know that question you get from clients every single day? So, how's the market? Well, the MAI answers that by simply comparing the rate of sales against active inventory. Basically, an MAI above 30 means it's a seller's market, and anything below 30 shifts us over toward a buyer's market. Keep that baseline in your head.
Now look at the stark contrast in the data we're seeing. The single-family market action index is currently sitting at 31, so that gives sellers a slight advantage. But meanwhile, the condo MAI has dropped to 29. That puts us into a slight buyer's advantage territory. Think about that. One city, but two entirely different sets of rules depending on what your client is looking to do.
Moving on to Section 2, Single Family, Seller's Advantage. We're seeing some real upward pricing pressure here.
Let's drill down into that single-family data for a minute. This week, the median list price for single-family homes in Prescott is sitting at $795,122. Based on the latest Altos research charts, prices seem to be hovering right around their high point. Home sales are just continuing to outstrip supply in this specific segment. It's incredibly competitive.
And here is the crucial takeaway for you. The single-family MAI isn't just at 31. It is actively moving higher. Remember, it was at 30 just last month. This persistent upward trend means you absolutely need to be watching for upward pricing pressure in the near future if this trajectory holds. Seriously, you have got to prepare your buyers for this reality before they start writing offers.
So why does that pressure exist? Well, look at this. We have a total inventory of just 574 single-family homes. That is a tight squeeze on the buyer pool. There are simply way more people looking to buy a detached home right now than there are homes available to sell them. And that is exactly what's keeping the leverage firmly, squarely in the seller's corner.
Let's look at how this actually plays out across the different price points. Look at the bottom tier on this breakdown. Homes priced around $419,000. These are flying off the shelf at just 49 days on market. The middle tiers? They're sitting at around 56 days. The only segment that is seeing any real sort of slowdown is the luxury top tier. Those homes hovering over $1.4 million are taking about 108 days to sell. But everywhere else, the pace is incredibly brisk.
All right, Section 3, Condos, the buyer shift. We're looking at stabilized pricing and plateauing demand.
Pivoting sharply here, let's look at condos and townhomes. The median list price is a much more accessible $360,000. But unlike the single-family homes we just looked at, the market here appears to be hovering around a plateau. We just aren't seeing that aggressive upward momentum anymore. Prices have remained relatively stable.
The data tells such a fascinating story on this side. The condo MI is currently at 29. Now, yes, sure, that is a slight bump from 27 last month, but the longer-term trend over the past several weeks has actually been moving lower. The narrative the market is telling us right now is that if inventory continues to grow relative to demand here, we are highly likely to see downward pressure on pricing.
And this perfectly illustrates the nuance of real estate data. Look at this number, 51. There are only 51 active condo units available in all of Prescott right now. It is an incredibly scarce asset.
Yet, despite being so scarce, the demand profile is softening just enough that buyers are actually gaining the leverage here. It just goes to show you, scarcity alone doesn't guarantee a seller's market if the buyer pool is shrinking even faster.
When we check out the condo market segments, it's wild. We see an almost reverse dynamic compared to the single-family homes. Remember how the cheapest detached homes sold the fastest? Well, for condos, the bottom tier, around $264,000, is actually sitting the longest, 73 days on market. Meanwhile, the top-tier luxury condos are moving the quickest at 56 days. It is a completely inverted demand curve compared to the rest of the market.
Moving to Section 4, Navigating the Split Market. Let's cross-examine this data.
Let's pull this all together and see how it actually builds our strategy. When we synthesize these two distinct markets, some super fascinating commonalities start to emerge. Check this out. Despite one favoring sellers and one favoring buyers, both markets are seeing almost identical rates of price decreases. 38% of single-family homes and 39% of condos have taken price cuts. What does that actually tell us? Well, it tells us that regardless of the property type, buyers are aggressively pushing back on aspirational pricing. You just can't overprice right now.
And you know what? The similarities don't even stop there. Look at the median days on market for both asset classes. It is exactly 63 days, spot on. So while a seller might have leverage on a single-family home to negotiate a higher final price, they really shouldn't expect an overnight sale. 2 whole months on the market is the baseline expectation across the board in Prescott right now.
Finally, Section 5, Action Plans for Clients. Let's talk strategies for your buyers and sellers. Let's translate these charts into some direct, hard-hitting strategies for your upcoming listing presentations. For your single-family sellers, remind them they have that MAI of 31 on their side. They can lean into that upward pricing pressure, but you still need to caution them against overpricing, especially since we know 38% of homes are still taking cuts. Now, for condo sellers, you need to have a very frank, sit-down conversation with them. They must price realistically from day one, because the momentum is absolutely shifting toward buyers. And for both, manage their timeline expectations right out of the gate. Tell them to prepare for a median of 63 days on the market. Now, when you're doing your buyer consultations, you want to give them the exact playbook based on the property type they want. For single-family buyers, prepare them for an absolute dogfight. With only 574 active listings, they need to bring strong, highly competitive offers. But for condo buyers, empower them. The MAI is trending lower, which gives them negotiation leverage they honestly haven't had in a while. In both cases, have them target listings that have been sitting a while. Use that 38 to 39% price decrease trend to hunt for motivated sellers.
Ultimately, data is only as good as the agent wielding it. You now have the exact numbers proving that Prescott is no longer just one monolithic market. It is a split market that demands 2 entirely distinct strategies. So, I will leave you with this to chew on. As you head into your next client appointment, is your pricing strategy actually ready for a split market? Take these insights, set those expectations, and go win the week. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll catch you next time.